So students, our today's topic is effect of pH on EDTA titrations. So before studying the effect of pH on EDTA titrations, I would like to give a brief introduction of EDTA. So EDTA is a hexadentate ligand in which 4 oxygen atoms of 4 carboxyl groups and 2 nitrogen atoms of 2 amino groups act as donor atom. So it means overall it is having 6 donor atoms, 4 oxygen atoms and 2 nitrogen atoms. So it is a hexadentate ligand, and EDTA is represented as H4Y because it is having 4 carboxyl groups. So means it is having 4 ionizable protons. But when used for titration purposes, EDTA is used in the form of its diasodium salt Na2H2Y dihydrate, diasodium salt of EDTA, which exists in the form of dihydrate. This sodium salt, when dissolved in water, forms H2Y2 negative by removal of 2 sodium ions. If 2 sodium ions are removed from Na2H2Y, then we are left with H2Y2 negative, and this H2Y2 negative forms 1:1 complexes with all metal ions. Now, out of these 4 carboxyl groups of EDTA, they all do not ionize at once, means they do not ionize simultaneously. Why? The answer to this question lies in their pKa value. Given ahead in this table are the pKa values of 4 different carboxyl groups of EDTA at 20 degrees Celsius. You can see in this screenshot I have written H4Y dissociating or in equilibrium with, dissociating into H positive or H3Y1 negative, or I can say in equilibrium. So there its pKa value or pK1 is 2, and for the disintegration of or dissociation of H3Y into H positive plus H2Y2 negative is pK value is 2.7, and for further disintegration of H2Y2 negative and HY3 negative is pK3 is 6.3 and 10.4. So what do you analyze from these pKa values? You can see for first 2 dissociations, pKa values are less, in round about 2 to 3 or in between 2 to 3. So it means the pKa values for first 2 protons or removal of first 2 protons are less. It means that dissociation constant, if pKa values are less, then dissociation constant would be high. It means first 2 protons ionizes easily because their dissociation constants are high. It means that 2 protons can be removed easily from EDTA. But if we see the pKa values or pK values for next 2 protons, third and fourth proton, for the removal of third and fourth proton, then their values are 6.3 and 10.3. So these are high. It means if this for these 2 protons pKa values are high, then I can say that their dissociation constant Ka would be less. It means they are difficult to remove. That's why I told you initially that out of these or these 4 protons do not ionize at once. 2 ionize first and 2 do not ionize along with them. They are ionized later on under different conditions. So I can say that these pKa values indicate that out of the 4 carboxyl groups, 2 ionize more easily as compared to the other 2. Now how would they ionize? I can say if I perform the reaction under highly acidic condition, or I can say under highly acidic conditions or low pH. Then EDTA, if pH is low or highly acidic, then I can say that proton concentration will be high. If there are too many protons in the solution, then what will happen? They will protonate the amino group of EDTA. So there will be 2 extra protons attached to the EDTA. So I can say that in acidic medium or at low pH, EDTA will exist in fully protonated form H6 EDTA 2 positive. And why this will be formed? Because of protonation of 2 amino groups and 4 carboxyl groups. Now if I change the pH to alkaline or higher pH, then what will happen? Under high basic pH or alkaline pH, EDTA will be deprotonated and the protons from carboxyl group will be removed. So 4 carboxyl groups are there. If I remove those 4 carboxyl groups, then I will get EDTA 4 negative. Is it clear? Now if pH is acidic, then large number of protons would be there. Now what will happen? If pH is acidic, then large number of protons will be there. Now if large number of protons will be there, what will they do? They will compete with the metal ion for binding with the ligands. The meaning of this line is that if protons are too much high in the solution and you are having EDTA ligand as well as metal ions, then we know that metal will bind with the EDTA ligand, but protons are also there. They will also tend to bind with the ligand. It means there will be a competition between the metal ion and the protons to bind to the ligands. Now if proton concentration is high, which is the case under highly acidic pH, some of the protons will bind to ligands. Although they can bind, but when the reaction takes place, they can be displaced by metal ions during titration. But this will happen only if the metal ligand complex is stable. What I am saying, that protons have binded to the ligand under acidic condition. Now there are 2 cases. Metal can replace protons only if metal ligand or EDTA complex is stable. Then or only then protons will be displaced from the ligand. And on the other hand, if metal ligand complex is unstable, then I can say that metal will not be able to replace the protons from the ligand, and hence reaction will not occur under acidic conditions. I think it is clear now. On the other hand, this is the text what I made you understand. If the metal ligand complex is unstable, then the reaction will not occur at low pH. And in such a case, what we will need to do to carry out the reaction? If metal ligand complex is unstable, then it will not be able to, metal will not be able to displace the proton from the ligand. In such a case, in order to remove the proton from the binded ligand, we need to increase the pH. Why? Because if we will increase the pH, then OH ion concentration will increase. So that OH ion will remove the proton from the ligand, or I can say deprotonation of the ligand will be there in basic pH, due to which I can say that chances of protonation of the ligands are less. If by using basic condition proton are removed or from the ligand, or I can say deprotonation of the ligand is there, then I can say that sufficient number of free ligands will be there to combine with the metal ion to form complexes. So what I can conclude, that if metal ligand complex is stable, then their titration can be carried out under acidic conditions. On the other hand, if metal ligand complex is weak, then their titration can be carried out under alkaline conditions. And for this I am giving you the equations. For example, if we are having a bivalent metal ion M2 positive which is combining with diasodium salt of EDTA, which is represented by H2Y2 negative, then we will get metal EDTA complex My2 negative. And if we are having trivalent metal ion M3 positive and is combining with diasodium salt of EDTA, then we will get My2 negative metal EDTA complex. And if we are having My1 negative complex, and if we are having tetravalent metal ion M4 positive, then on combining with diasodium salt of EDTA, it will form metal EDTA complex represented by My. So general reaction in this case I can write Mn positive plus H2Y2 negative will form My raised to power n minus 4 metal EDTA complex. Now you can see this equation is very important for understanding the effect of pH on EDTA titrations. Now you can see as the formation of metal EDTA complex depends on hydrogen ion concentration. How? This I told you earlier. If metal ligand complex is stable, then that can be formed under acidic conditions, and if metal ligand complex is unstable, then that would be formed only under basic conditions. So I can say that formation of this metal EDTA complex depends on the pH, or I can say on hydrogen ion concentration. So metal EDTA complex will be formed at low pH if it is stable, because only then metal ions can replace the hydrogen ions from the ligand. This I made you clear earlier, and this text I already told you that if metal EDTA complex is unstable or weak, then metal ions cannot replace hydrogen ions from the ligand. Hence we need to increase the pH to cause deprotonation and initiate binding of the metal to deprotonated EDTA ligand. So I can say that pH is playing a role in the formation of metal EDTA complex, because if complex is stable, then it will be formed under highly acidic conditions or acidic condition, and if it is unstable, metal EDTA complex is unstable, then it will be formed under alkaline conditions. So I can say that formation of metal EDTA complex depends on the pH. So I can say that EDTA titrations are pH sensitive. So what we need to do? We need to maintain the pH of the solution by using suitable buffer solution. So to conclude, here I can say that EDTA titrations are pH sensitive, means some metals react with the EDTA under acidic conditions, some react under basic conditions. So this is the effect of pH on EDTA titrations, and under which type of pH the metal ions will form a solution, that depends on the type of metal used. So that was all about the effect of pH on EDTA titrations. Next I am coming to types of complexometric titrations. So there are 4 types of complexometric titrations. These are direct titrations, back titrations, replacement titrations, or indirect titrations. Indirect titrations are also known as alkalimetric titrations. So we will study them one by one. So first of all, what is direct titration? As the name is suggesting, direct titration means titration of a metal ion solution against standard solution of EDTA using a suitable indicator. Direct titration is what? Direct titration is a titration in which standard solution of EDTA is directly titrated against unknown metal ion solution using a suitable indicator, and this method is used for the titration of metal ions like calcium, magnesium, aluminium, cobalt, nickel, zinc, cadmium, lead, etc. So direct mean we are titrating a metal ion solution of unknown concentration directly against EDTA solution. Next is back titration. What is back titration? In back titration, what we do, we add excess of standard EDTA solution to metal ion solution to be determined. What we are doing, we are adding excess of EDTA. Then if we add excess of EDTA solution to a metal ion solution, what will happen? Metal will bind to the EDTA, but if we have used EDTA in excess, some of the EDTA will be left free. Then we estimate or determine the amount of EDTA left after complex formation by titrating it against standard solution of another metal ion. In back titration, what we do, we are taking a metal ion solution and mixing it with excess of EDTA solution. When we mix, metal will form complex with EDTA, but as we have used excess of EDTA, some of the EDTA will be used by metal for forming the complex, but left or excess amount of EDTA, that is free, which is left free, that will remain in the solution. So we will titrate that EDTA by titrating against another standard solution of metal ion. So this is back titration, and this method is used if the metal ion to be determined gets precipitated in the absence of EDTA. When this method is used, back titration, when metal gets precipitated even in the absence of EDTA, and if it gets precipitated, what will happen? It will block the indicator to react with the metal ion. If metal is getting precipitated into some form, then it will not be free to form the interact with the indicator. So metal indicator complex will not be formed there. Sorry, we cannot detect the endpoint. Or second is that metal ion reacts too slowly with the EDTA. For example, back titration is used for the estimation of manganese. Why? Because manganese gets precipitated as manganese hydroxide. If it gets precipitated as manganese hydroxide, then manganese cannot form complex with the indicator. So we cannot determine it by a direct titration. Then what we will do? We will use excess of EDTA. And by adding excess of EDTA, manganese will combine with EDTA, and some of the EDTA will be left unreacted, which is then titrated against standard solution of zinc ions using Eriochrome black tea as indicator. So by using the free or unreacted EDTA and titrating it against zinc ions, we can determine the amount of manganese in the solution. Third type of titrations are replacement titrations. As the name is suggesting, replacement means to substitute one metal ion by other. So when these replacement titrations are used, these are used when direct or back titrations do not give sharp endpoints. First condition is for using back titrations is when they are used when direct or back titrations do not give sharp endpoints, or second is no suitable indicators are available. So in back replacement titration, what we do, metal ion to be determined is added to another metal EDTA solution. Then what will happen? The metal ion to be determined when treated with another metal EDTA solution, then this metal will displace the other metal from the metal EDTA solution and will get attached itself to the EDTA. So we will be having one free metal ion there, or one type of free metal ions there. So freed metal ions are then determined by titrating against standard solution of EDTA. For example, this method is also used for estimation of manganese. How? For this, manganese ion solution is added to magnesium EDTA solution. What we are doing, we want to estimate manganese ion solution. So what we will do in replacement titration, we will add manganese ion solution to magnesium EDTA solution. Then what will happen? Manganese will displace magnesium from the magnesium EDTA complex to form manganese EDTA complex. And why this will happen? Because manganese EDTA complex is more stable as compared to magnesium EDTA complex. So when manganese will replace the magnesium from the EDTA, the magnesium will be released from there or replaced, I can say. The magnesium will be free. So this freed magnesium is then determined quantitatively by using standard solution of EDTA in the presence of Eriochrome black tea as indicator. And other metal ions that can be determined by using replacement titrations are calcium, lead, mercury, etc. And last type of complexometric titrations or EDTA titrations are indirect titrations or alkalimetric titrations. So in indirect titrations or alkalimetric titrations, we use diasodium salt of EDTA, and I have already told you that diasodium salt of EDTA is represented by Na2H2Y dihydrate. So in indirect titrations, diasodium salt of EDTA is added to metal ion solution to be determined. Now what will happen? As diasodium salt when dissolved in water, it loses 2 sodium ions. So it exists in the form of H2Y2 negative in aqueous medium. So I can say that when metal ion solution will be added to diasodium salt of EDTA, it will react with the diasodium salt as shown in this equation. So you can see in this equation a metal cation represented by Mn positive, M raised to power n positive, more accurately to say M raised to power n positive, that is metal ion having n positive charge, is treated with diasodium salt of EDTA represented by H2Y2 negative. Then it will form complex My raised to power n minus 4. Please note here that n is the charge on the metal ion and 4 represents the total charge on the EDTA ion. As I told you, EDTA can lose 4 protons. So if it lose 4 protons, then we will be having 4 negative charge. So that's why we used My raised to power n minus 4. 4 represents the charge on EDTA. So you can determine the charge on the complex formed by using the charge on the metal ion. But as you can see in this equation, when metal ion reacts with diasodium salt, so as to form metal EDTA complex, 2 protons are formed. So I can say that 2 equivalents of protons are formed. Now protons mean acid is formed. So now how will you determine the acid? You can determine the acid by titrating it against a base using acid base indicator. So you can see that in EDTA titration, when a metal ion solution is added to diasodium salt, 2 equivalents of protons are released. So these liberated protons or hydrogen ions are then titrated against a standard solution of alkali using an acid base indicator. Hence, we can determine indirectly the amount of metal ion present in a solution, because one metal ion is producing 2 equivalents of protons. So by applying calculations, we can determine the amount of metal present in a solution. As further, in this case, we are determining the amount of acid produced by using an alkali solution. So indirect titrations are also known as alkalimetric titrations. So that was all about regarding different types of complexometric or EDTA titrations. Thank you.